Bankrupt. My brother Kieran stood at the company town hall microphone like he owned the room. Maybe he thought he did. He smiled at the crowd of maybe 200 employees, then looked directly at me sitting in the third row. Just so everyone knows, he said casually, my sister's bankrupt. He held up a printed email like it was evidence. Like it was a trophy. The room erupted in laughter. Real laughter. Not uncomfortable chuckles. Actual amusement at my expense. I felt my cheeks burning, but I kept my smile frozen in place. My fingers tightened around my paper cup of water until the sides crinkled loudly. Kieran added, grinning wider, so if she asks any of you for money, don't fall for it. Family or not. More laughter. I didn't cry. Didn't stand up and defend myself. Didn't cause a scene. I just stared at him and thought one clear thought. If you want a story, I'll give you one. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with shaking hands. The notification made my stomach drop. Payment failed. Rent auto withdrawal declined. Perfect timing. I stared at my phone screen, the words blurring slightly. Kieran was still talking, making some joke about fiscal responsibility. The crowd laughed again. I could feel the humiliation crawling under my skin like insects. My boss's eyes flicked to me with something that looked like pity. Somehow that felt worse than the laughter. I took a slow breath. Set my water cup down carefully. Then I stood up, grabbed my bag and walked toward the exit like I was late for an important meeting. Not like I was being publicly destroyed by my own brother. In the hallway, I pressed my back against the cool wall and focused on breathing. Slow. Controlled. Through my nose. You don't get to watch me panic, I told myself. My phone rang. My mother's name flashed across the screen. I closed my eyes. Of course she'd heard already. I answered. Why didn't you tell us? She demanded. No hello. Nor you okay. Just accusation. Ronan says you're bankrupt. My mother continued, her voice sharp. Is this true? I stared at the exit sign down the hall, blinking too slowly. I'm handling it, I said quietly. She scoffed. Actually scoffed. He's just trying to protect the family reputation, you know. You should have told us before it got public. Protect. Like I was the threat. Like I'd done this on purpose. My stepfather grabbed the phone. I heard the fumbling. Don't embarrass Kieran at his workplace. He's worked hard for his position there. I laughed once. Small. Bitter. Don't worry, I whispered. I won't. I hung up before either of them could respond. Walked to my car on numb legs. Found something tucked under my windshield wiper. A plain envelope. No stamp. Just my name written in Kieran's aggressive handwriting, like it had been carved into the paper. Inside was a photocopy of my old bankruptcy filing from 3 years ago. The one I'd already survived. The one I'd paid every cent back from. And a sticky note attached. Try not to drag us down again. My hands stopped shaking. Not because I was calm, but because something inside me clicked into ice. I sat in my driver's seat and looked at the paper like it was evidence at a crime scene. As it was. Evidence of cruelty. Of planned humiliation. I took a photo of it. Then another from a different angle to capture the sticky note clearly. Then I slid both items into a folder in my car. Not memories. Not family. Documents. I started the car and drove home in silence. That night, I opened my laptop to pay bills and found something unexpected. Kieran's email account was still logged in on my browser from when we'd shared devices years ago. He'd never changed his password because he'd never imagined consequences. His inbox was a parade of ego. Congratulatory messages. Calendar invites for leadership meetings. A thread titled Promotion Track. And then I saw it. The email he'd printed for the town hall. Not from finance. Not from HR. From a coworker named Marcus gossiping about me. Subject, your sister in trouble? Body, heard she had money problems. That bankruptcy thing true. Kieran had used a rumor as proof. I didn't forward the email to myself. Didn't reply to it. Didn't touch anything. Just took screenshots. Careful. Methodical. Time-stamped. Then I logged out and closed the laptop. I sat in my dark apartment and wrote one line in my phone notes. Kieran lies confidently. The next morning HR called me. Not Kieran's HR. My HR. I'd started working at the same company 3 months ago in a different department. That's how he'd had access to humiliate me so publicly. I walked into the glass-walled office. The HR representative, a woman named Patricia, offered me water like I was a grieving widow. "We wanted to check in," she said gently, eyes darting to the door. "Yesterday's town hall was intense." I nodded once. "I'm fine." She leaned closer, voice dropping. "Kieran mentioned you might be a financial risk. That you might try to access company accounts or resources inappropriately. So he was escalating. Trying to get me fired." I smiled. Actually smiled. Soft. Controlled. "So he's creating a narrative," I said calmly. Patricia looked uncomfortable. I stood. "Thank you for checking on me. I appreciate it. Can I request a copy of the company's code of conduct policy?" Her eyebrows lifted. "Why?" "Because I like reading," I said simply. That afternoon my desk access card stopped working. The card reader blinked red 3 times. Like it hated me personally. A security guard approached. Young. Apologetic. "Ma'am, they asked me to escort you to collect personal items." There was the quiet execution. No scene. No confrontation. Just disposal. Across the lobby, Kieran leaned against a pillar, sipping coffee like he was watching a show he'd paid for. He mouthed 2 words at me. "Told you." I walked past him without flinching. Went to my desk and collected my things slowly. My bag. My framed photo of my grandmother. My notebook. I left nothing that looked like desperation or panic. At the doors I paused. Turned back. "Kieran," I called out calmly. He looked over, grin widening. "Thanks," I said. His smile faltered slightly. "For what?" "For making it clean." I walked out into afternoon sunlight and didn't look back. That night, a stranger sent me a DM on social media. The message read, "Your brother is bragging about getting you fired. I have receipts." The DM came from a woman named Simone who worked in Kieran's department. I didn't know her well. We'd maybe exchanged 3 sentences total. She sent a screen recording. Kieran in a group chat, laughing, typing. I got her out. She was dead weight anyway. Then another message. "HR will do what I tell them. Dad knows people on the board." My throat tightened. Not from sadness. From recognition. Kieran wasn't just cruel. He was sloppy. Arrogant people always are. And sloppy people leave trails. I replied with 1 sentence. "Thank you. Please don't tell anyone you sent this." She responded immediately. "He's done this before. To others. Someone needed to know." I backed up the recording in 3 separate locations. Cloud storage. External drive. Email to myself. 2 days later, my father invited me to talk. I knew what that meant. I'd been summoned to explain myself. To apologize for existing inconveniently. I went anyway. At my father's house, Kieran was already there. Legs crossed. Smug. Performing concern. "We're worried about you," Kieran said like he hadn't lit the fire himself. My father sat in his leather chair and didn't look at me when he spoke. "Kieran says you've been unstable. That you're jealous of his success. Jealous. Of public humiliation." I placed my hands flat on my knees to keep them from shaking. "I'm not here to argue," I said quietly. "I'm here to listen." Kieran leaned forward, hungry for my surrender. "Good. Because you really do need help." I nodded. "I agree." He smiled wider, thinking he'd won. I looked at my father directly. "I need help understanding why you're letting your son publicly attack your daughter and then pretending it's concern." Silence cracked through the room like ice breaking. Kieran's smile slipped. My father shifted uncomfortably. "That's dramatic," Kieran said quickly. "I was just being honest. You held up a 3-year-old court document and called me bankrupt in front of 200 people, I said calmly. "That's not honesty. That's performance." Kieran rolled his eyes. Snapped. "Because you deserved it. You ruined our family name with that bankruptcy filing." There was not concern. Punishment. I inhaled slowly. I paid every cent back. Rebuilt my credit. Rebuilt my life. What I didn't rebuild was your respect. My father finally looked at me. Really looked. Like he was remembering I was a person. Kieran waved his hand dismissively. "Doesn't matter now. People remember what they want to remember." I smiled. "Small. Private. You're absolutely right. They do." Something in my tone made Kieran hesitate. But he recovered quickly, changing the subject to something about family loyalty. I stayed for exactly 20 more minutes. Said nothing important. Then left. When I got home, there was a letter taped to my apartment door. Final notice in thick black print. My landlord's handwriting at the bottom. Call me immediately. Urgent. I called. He answered on the second ring. Someone paid your rent 2 weeks ago, he said, sounding confused. Then disputed the charge. Now the bank's saying it was fraud. I need this sorted out. My stomach dropped. This wasn't an accident. This was a trap. Make me look unstable. Unreliable. Bankrupt, all over again. Did they leave a name? I asked. He hesitated. The card said Kieran. I thanked my landlord. Asked him to email me everything. Every transaction. Every dispute. Every timestamp. Then I opened my bank app. 2 charges were showing as disputed. 2 failed payments. A manufactured spiral designed to recreate my lowest moment. I sat on my kitchen floor back against the cabinet and forced myself to breathe. Don't react. Record. Called my bank. Requested transaction logs, dispute timestamps, merchant statements. Asked questions in a calm voice like I was ordering coffee. The representative kept apologizing. I kept saying thank you, and please send that in writing. By the end of the call, I had a clean paper trail. Kieran wasn't just mocking me publicly. He was actively trying to sabotage my life financially. That night, I received an email invitation. Subject: Annual Company Gala, you're invited. The invitation was glossy. Professional. The event was in 3 weeks. Kieran was listed as Rising Star Speaker. My name appeared in the RSVP list as Guest, Unconfirmed. A pity invite. A control move. He wanted me in that room so he could retell my story with better lighting and a captive audience. I stared at the RSVP button for a long time. Then clicked yes. That same night my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Is this Nadia? A woman's voice asked. Yes. This is Claire Morrison. I mentored you 5 years ago. Do you remember? I sat up straighter. Claire had been my supervisor at my first real job. Fair. The kind of woman who didn't waste words. Of course I remember. I heard what happened at the town hall, she said. No pity in her voice. Just facts. Do you still have your numbers? My numbers. The freelance work you did while rebuilding. The contracts. The clients. Did you keep records? I swallowed. Every invoice. Every payment. Everything. Good, she said. Because a group is forming. Investors. Quiet ones. They like people who don't panic under pressure. My pulse thudded in my ears. Why me? Because your brother is loud, she replied. And loud people always overplay their hand eventually. She gave me an address. A meeting time. And one more thing. The company he works for? It's bleeding money. Quietly. No one's talking about it yet. But it's coming. The meeting was in a downtown office I'd never heard of. Unmarked door. Quiet hallway. Inside, 6 people sat around a conference table. Claire introduced me simply. This is Nadia. She survived bankruptcy and came back stronger. She understands risk. I didn't brag. Didn't oversell. Just laid out what I'd done. Rebuilt credit from 480 to 720. Paid back $23,000 in 18 months while working 3 jobs. Built a client base of 12 consistent contracts. They didn't ask about Kieran. They asked how I'd survived. When I left, Claire walked me to the elevator. Your brother thinks you're a joke, she said quietly. Let him think that. 2 days later, Kieran posted a photo online. Him in a sharp suit. Champagne glass. Caption: Some people never learn. Proud of my promotion. Party popper. The comments filled with congratulations. And subtle jokes. Make sure to protect your money, oh. Don't let family mooch off you. My name was never mentioned. But everyone knew. I stared at the post. My thumb hovered over the reply button. I wanted to burn him publicly. To respond with evidence. With truth. Instead I locked my phone. Opened my laptop. Updated my financial spreadsheets. Because comments disappear. Documents don't. A week before the gala, someone sent me a PDF. The sender was anonymous. The subject line: You should see this. Inside was an internal performance report from Kieran's company. He was credited for cost-cutting initiatives that had saved the company money. But when I read the details, I saw the truth. The initiatives were layoffs, cutting benefits, eliminating training programs. He wasn't saving the company. He was gutting it and calling it leadership. And at the bottom, buried in a footnote, was a bullet point that made my blood run cold. Risk mitigation. Remove Nadia Voss completely. Reputational liability. So it was official. Documented. I wasn't a sister to them. I was a problem to be eliminated. I saved the PDF in 4 locations. Then I wrote one note. Not personal anymore. Procedural. The night of the gala arrived. I wore a simple black dress. Nothing flashy. Professional. I walked into the ballroom and immediately felt eyes on me. Kieran spotted me within seconds. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and champagne. Kieran cut across the room like a spotlight searching for a target. He approached with that fake warmth that only exists in front of witnesses. "Nadia," he said loudly, pulling me into a hug. "Look at you. Still standing." I smiled. Let my hands stay visible and relaxed at my sides. "Congratulations on your promotion," I said evenly. He leaned in close. Voice dropping. "Don't embarrass yourself tonight. People talk." I tilted my head slightly. "Yes. They do." Then I stepped past him. Toward the investor table where Claire was already sitting. Kieran followed a few steps behind, trying to look casual. Trying to hear who I was greeting. I introduced myself to people with soft smiles and firm handshakes. No desperation. No please like me energy. Just professionalism. Kieran finally snapped. "Who are you even here with?" "Myself," I said sweetly. "And people who read financial documents." He laughed. But it sounded thin. Nervous. "Read what documents?" I sipped my water slowly. "The important ones." His eyes narrowed. Then he glanced at the name tags on the table. For the first time his confidence flickered. Kieran went on stage 20 minutes later. Started with his usual charm. Jokes. Self-deprecation that wasn't really self-deprecating. Then he pivoted. Like he couldn't resist. "And hey," he laughed into the microphone, "if anyone here is worried about tough times, my sister Nadia can tell you all about what bankruptcy feels like." Half the room laughed. A few people gasped. Claire's jaw tightened beside me. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Just lifted my glass of water, took a slow sip, and let the silence after his joke stretch uncomfortably. Kieran's smile twitched. He wanted me to react. To look ashamed. I gave him nothing. He cleared his throat and moved on quickly. Finished his speech. Got polite applause. After, a woman in a sleek black dress approached me. "I'm Helena," she said quietly. "Compliance officer. Can we talk?" I nodded. She led me to a quiet corner. "I've watched your brother weaponize HR for 2 years," she said, voice flat. "Watched him pressure people. Manipulate narratives." I kept my expression neutral. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because the company's about to implode," she said simply. "And he's positioning you as the scapegoat." Again. My stomach tightened. But I kept my tone soft. "What do you need?" "Someone credible," she said. "Someone calm. Someone who documents things." I nodded once. "I'm listening." He slid me a business card. On the back, written in pen, "Board meeting. 3 weeks." In the weeks before that board meeting, I didn't post online. Didn't fight Kieran in the comments. Didn't make grand statements. I just built. Met with investors. Reviewed financial documents. Learned the company's debt structure like it was a language I was fluent in. Kieran kept posting wins. Photos at nice restaurants. Announcements about new initiatives. I kept collecting proof. Then Claire called one evening. "It's time," she said. "We're buying in. Significant stake. Enough for control." My throat went dry. "How much?" "Enough," she replied. "And your name needs to be on the ownership documents." I stared at my reflection in the window. Eyes steady. Mouth neutral. "Why me?" "Because you understand what it costs to lose everything," Claire said. "And people who understand that don't make reckless decisions." On the morning of the board meeting, Kieran texted me one word. "Disappear." I stared at it. Read it 3 times. A command from someone who still thought he owned my fear. I didn't reply. Just put on a cream blouse. Pulled my hair back. Checked my folder one last time. In the lobby I saw Kieran pacing, rehearsing confidence. He didn't notice me until I was right behind him. "What are you doing here?" Kieran demanded when he finally saw me. "Not disappearing," I said simply. His face hardened. "You're not on the list." I held up my visitor badge. The one that said board advisor. "I'm not visiting," I replied calmly. His expression shifted. Confusion. Then something that looked like panic buried under bravado. The boardroom doors opened. Someone announced names. Mine came before his. Nadia Voss, representing Morrison Capital Group. Kieran's head snapped around. His eyes found mine. I watched him try to rearrange reality fast enough to survive what was coming. A corporate attorney stood at the head of the table. "Before we begin today's proceedings, I'd like to welcome our new majority stakeholders." The room murmured. People shifted in their seats. The attorney continued, voice crisp and clear. "Morrison Capital Group has acquired 53% controlling interest as of last Friday. Primary representative, Nadia Voss." Complete silence. Then Kieran stood. Too fast. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. "This is a mistake," he said. Voice tight. "This has to be a mistake." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't smirk. Just spoke like someone reading facts from a weather report. "It's not a mistake. It's paperwork." The attorney slid a packet across the table. It stopped directly in front of Kieran. "This is a formal notice," she said. "Your role is being terminated pending investigation into harassment, HR manipulation and reputational harm." Kieran's hands shook as he opened the packet. Inside were printed screenshots. The group chat where he'd bragged. The compliance complaints Helena had filed. The disputed charges he'd made to sabotage my rent. Every document time-stamped. Verified. Witnessed. "These are lies," he said. But his voice had no strength. "They're records," I corrected gently. "Submitted by 7 different employees over 18 months. His eyes darted around the room. Looking for someone to defend him. To save him. My father's connections. His friends. His charm. But the room had already moved on. His people protect power. Not noise. Kieran looked at me. Really looked. And for the first time he seemed to see me. Not as his joke. Not as his failure. As the person who'd quietly dismantled everything he thought he'd built. "You did this," he whispered. "No," I said. "You did this. I just stopped cleaning up after you." The board voted. Unanimous. Kieran was removed immediately. Escorted out by security. I didn't watch him leave. Just gathered my documents, thanked the board for their time and walked out through the main entrance. The same entrance where I'd been escorted out months ago. Sunlight hit my face. I took a slow breath. My phone buzzed. "Claire, how do you feel?" I thought about it. Tired. But clear. "Good," she said. "That's the right answer." Kieran tried calling me 14 times that first week. I didn't answer. He sent emails. Long ones. Explaining. Justifying. Blaming. I archived them without reading past the first line. My father called once. "You've embarrassed this family," he said. I almost laughed. No. I protected myself. There's a difference. Kieran's career is ruined. Kieran ruined his own career, I replied. I just stopped being his collateral damage. I hung up. Changed my number a week later. The company stabilized under new management. We brought in an actual operations team. Fixed the financial hemorrhaging. Treated employees like humans instead of expenses. Revenue grew. Fully. Steadily. I didn't take a public-facing role. Didn't want the spotlight. Just worked behind the scenes. Advising. Analyzing. Building. 6 months later someone forwarded me a LinkedIn post. Kieran had started a consulting firm. The post was full of buzzwords about resilience and new chapters. The comments were supportive. People who didn't know the full story. I felt nothing looking at it. No anger. No satisfaction. Just distance. A year after the board meeting I got a message from Helena. "Thank you for listening. The culture here is different now. People feel safe." That meant more than any revenge ever could. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. Not loudly. Not performatively. Just consistently. Paid off the last of my old debt. Bought a small condo. Started sleeping through the night without anxiety. My career grew quietly. Consulting work. Advisory positions. Speaking engagements where I talked about financial recovery without mentioning family drama. People started recognizing my name. But for the right reasons. Kieran's name came up occasionally. Usually attached to failed ventures or deleted social media accounts. I never spoke about him publicly. Never told our story for clicks or sympathy. Just moved forward. Claire became a real mentor. Then a friend. You could have destroyed him completely, she said once over coffee. I shook my head. I just wanted him to stop destroying me. That's the difference, she replied. Between revenge and boundary setting. 2 years after everything, my mother reached out. A short email. Stiff. Formal. I may have misjudged the situation. Not an apology. Just an acknowledgement. I read it 3 times. Drafted a response. Deleted it. Drafted another. Deleted that too. Finally sent one line. I appreciate you saying that. Nothing more. Because some relationships don't get rebuilt. They just get released. I saw Kieran once after everything. At a coffee shop. Accidental. He looked older. Tired. He saw me. Started to approach. I shook my head once. Gentle but firm. He stopped. Nodded. No conversation needed. We both knew. 3 years later, I spoke at a financial literacy conference. The topic was rebuilding after bankruptcy. I didn't mention Kieran by name. Didn't need to. Just talked about public humiliation. Family betrayal. The choice to build instead of breaking. Afterward, a young woman approached me. My brother did something similar, she said quietly. I didn't think I'd survive. I looked at her. Really looked. You will, I said. Not because you're strong. But because you'll choose to be. She nodded. Crying a little. I gave her my card. That moment mattered more than any board meeting ever could. I learned something important through all of this. The strongest revenge isn't destruction. It's building something so solid that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Kieran wanted me to be his cautionary tale. I became my own success story instead. He wanted me to disappear. I became undeniable. Not through cruelty. Through competence. Not through shouting. Through documentation. Not through performance. Through persistence. The people who laughed at that town hall? Some apologized later. Some didn't. I accepted both responses the same way. With distance. Because my worth wasn't determined by their laughter or their apologies. It was determined by the life I rebuilt when they weren't watching. My name is Nadia Voss. My brother called me bankrupt in front of 200 people. Years later, I bought the company he thought would protect him. Not because I needed revenge. Because I needed proof that I could survive what he tried to make me. He taught me something valuable that day at the town hall. He taught me that the people who mock your lowest moment are usually terrified you'll rise above them. And he was right to be terrified. Not because I'm cruel. But because I'm careful. I document. I build. I persist. Kieran lost his position, his reputation, his leverage. I didn't take those things from him. He gave them away every time he chose performance over substance. Every time he chose cruelty over character. Every time he assumed I'd stay broken. The moral isn't destroy people who hurt you. It's become so unshakable that their hurt can't reach you anymore. I don't hate my brother. I've just stopped letting him define me. And that, I've learned, is the cleanest form of freedom. When people mistake your quiet for weakness, let them. The strongest comeback is building so well that their disrespect becomes irrelevant. I'm not bankrupt. I'm free. And that's worth more than any revenge.